Alright, you're welcome to this video. Now in this video we are going to look at a simple project, and this project we shall build it in Python, PySide 6, C++, JavaScript and VBA. Now JavaScript we shall go ahead to integrate CSS and HTML. In VBA we shall integrate Microsoft Excel. I'm still your instructor, Emmanuel Ogdudu, for this course. Now we have the task which we are going to work on. The task is simple, where a trader deals with a sale of 3 items, and they have given us the cost price, the selling price, and the quantity that trader sells. So they want us to create a program which will calculate the trader's profit and the percentage profit. Now, as simple as it is, we are going to transform it into a mega project. Now, by the end of this session, we shall be guided by the following learning outcomes. Should be able to explain fundamental business concepts such as the cost price, selling price, profit, and the percentage profit. Should also be able to apply mathematical formulas to compute the profit and the percentage profit, and other calculations we shall see. Should also be able to design appropriate data structures to represent real-world entities. Should also be able to implement solutions using multiple programming languages and environments. Should also be able to analyze program output to make informed decisions. One of the outputs we shall create will be a CSV file. Should also be able to evaluate program robustness through validation and error handling. Should also be able to create extensible and reusable software. Now, in the previous case, we have seen 3 products. Can you extend this product to handle more than only 3? Can you extend this application to handle more than 3 products? Now, we have keynotes to take here. Like I said, we shall use Python, JavaScript, VBA to accomplish this task. Alongside, we shall build a graphical user interface application. So, I'm very confident that if you build this in C++, it will not be hard for you to do the same in C language. And the same thing, if you can do it in JavaScript, actually there's some relation in the syntax with C# and Java. So actually you can also build this using Visual Basic, because if we learn how to use Visual Basic for applications, which comes in Microsoft Excel, I'm pretty sure you can build this in Visual Basic. Now you can run to AI to give you the solutions, but in this course I'm going to give a detailed explanation. Before we start a concept, I will entirely explain the concept before we apply it. Now, what are some of the requirements for you to kickstart this course? You should have at least Visual Studio Code installed on your PC, whether it is Windows, Linux or Mac. So you should also have Python. Alternatively, we shall see how to use Google Colab. So you should also have, for a graphical user interface application, you should have PySide 6 installed. So you should also have Dev C++. In case you don't have Visual Studio Code, Dev C++ helps us to run C++ and C programming languages. You should also have Microsoft Excel installed, at least version 2010 and above. You should also have a text editor. So we have a variety: Notepad, Sublime Text, and many others, but I will recommend Visual Studio Code because it is a rich text editor. Like I had mentioned earlier, the JavaScript will go ahead, we shall involve HTML and CSS for styling. So when we proceed with the requirements, you also need a Windows PC, actually a Windows 10 PC or 11. And then you should also, in case you're using Ubuntu, it is okay. In case you're using Mac, it is okay. So you only need to have all the software installed. So the last section, we shall see how to use AI to solve that very problem. So a keynote is there's no experience required. Now about me, I'm a teacher by profession, and on the screen there is a variety of skills which I'm capable of to do, from basic networking, basic cybersecurity, programming languages, C++, C, JavaScript, Python, basics in data science, machine learning, office applications, scripting, HTML, CSS, structured query language, mention it. So in case you are in need of a serious, competent, and skill-driven, don't hesitate to hook up on me. My contacts were there on the screen. Now, my teaching philosophy. My approach is around Bloom's taxonomy, whereby I embark on project-based approach to learning. Now, this helps learners to gain real-world application and create build real-world knowledge on how things run in the real world. Now, I design learning activities that progressively develop cognitive skills, starting with foundational knowledge, advancing through analysis and evaluation. So, in the courses, in the projects we are going to develop, if it is C++, we start by explaining the concepts, then go ahead to apply the concepts, and then we finally apply the solutions we have got across multiple programming languages. Now, my instructional strategy still. Each topic is introduced through a real-life problem. To establish relevancy and motivation, learners first demonstrate understanding of the core concepts such as the profit. So, I first explain the profit, what about the cost price, what about the percentage profit, etc. before we go ahead to apply it. So, as we conclude this, I also make sure there's engagement through questions and answers. So to accommodate diverse learning styles, the same problem is implemented across console-based applications, then graphical user interface applications. Like I said, we shall use PySide 6. So frequent pauses of reflection on questions and different scenarios will be done throughout this course. Then lastly, industry and academic relevancy. So this project emphasizes transferable computational thinking skills. So by the end, we shall be able to think like developers in the field. So the inclusion of validation, error handling, and user interaction mirrors real-world professional practice. So that is exactly what we are going to do. We are going to make sure our application is able to handle errors and everything which will show up. So in every software development process, there are stages which are followed, or phases. Now the first phase is the requirements gathering. Now under this phase, we document what the system should do. An example, to calculate the profit. So we start building on from there, and the percentage profit, to start planning. So in the planning stage, we define the scope, the timeline, we define the resources, and the risks involved. So we define the resources like, I will use Python, I will use Visual Studio Code, I will need maybe to hire somebody to support, I maybe need to buy the design. So that's where I will plan. I will plan on how long I will take on the project, that's the timeline. So I will also plan the design. Here, you can simply create system architecture, data models, and UI interface. So the interface is what you interact with, what the users interact with. So you can simply design this interface on paper before you go ahead to implement it in the code. Development, write and integrate the actual code. Now this code you can simply also write it on paper before you implement it. So we go to the testing stage. After you've written everything, like we shall see, always test to verify the functionality, whether it really meets the user requirements, because at first you gather the user requirements. Then deployment, release the software to users or production. So in case you created an executable file or a website, release it for use. Maintenance, update, optimize, and support the system. So after developing a system or a website, follow up and always do maintenance. So that is how you keep yourself engaged and employed. So this brings us to the end. So by the end, you should be able to think like a software developer. Software development follows a clear life cycle from understanding the problem to maintaining the solution. So the problem is capture the profit and many other problems you will encounter in the field. So you must identify the problem, understand it, and you have to keep the solution on track. So if you're excited to learn with me, so get ready and let's get started. Alright, let us start this section. Now before we start, there are key questions which you may be interested in knowing. I'm still your instructor, Emmanuel Gidudu, for now. Now, there are several things you may be asking yourself. These are some of the key questions you should ask yourself before we start. Provoke your minds before we start. Now, in the phases of software development, we have the requirements gathering stage, the planning, development, design, development, testing, deployment, and maintenance. So the questions are, do you have all the information required before we start this project? So that is an example, the cost price, the selling price. What do you expect to change? Because you can't develop this project expecting it to work for 100 years. You must prospect any changes, so note down the changes. Perhaps move down to the client and ask questions. Then document the findings about the project. Now if it is this trader in town, I'll go down to the trader in town and I say, what else do you need? What else do you think this business will change? After 2 years, what do you expect? So in my maintenance stage, after I've deployed and given it to the client, I'll go back down and start working on basing on what I collected from the trader. So plan the duration you'll take on the project. So resources you'll need, e.g. the software, etc. So create your design on paper. An example is the interface. So this interface, write it on paper. How do you want it to look? So if it is displaying maybe, should I say, window components, how do you want them to appear? You can write them on paper, draw them on paper, and then you can implement it. So create your design, draw it on paper. If it is a database, write down the structure, how the tables will look like, then the relationships, etc. So another key thing to look out here for, write and implement the code finally. So here, before you write the code, feel free to write it down on paper. So before you go on PC to write, test the application to ensure functionality meets user requirements. So test the application during development, then after development, perhaps get somebody to help you test the application. Then later on, deliver the product to the user or the client. So do not sit back and relax after you have delivered the product to the client. Always maintain such that you can stay live in the field. So we shall proceed here. Now I know you may be asking a question in your minds, mostly if you're a student of computer science, information technology, or another ICT field. Now, what is the purpose? What's the relevancy of this course to me? Then you may also be asking yourself, I don't have a portfolio. How will I land a job? So the question here is, what if I'm a computer science student who needs to build my portfolio? So for every job advertised, they always ask for experience. Unfortunately, you can't get experience when you have not worked, and you can't work when you have no experience. So that circle is very terrible, moving around. So my answer is very simple. Now, while you're outside there, somebody may tell you, please build a tic-tac-toe. This may end you into mess. So I'm saying, build real-world applications that solve real-world problems. So remember, as a computer scientist, science is there to solve problems. So always look out for problems. So look around your environment to find gaps. Actually, look for gaps. either in existing systems or where there is no ICT integration. So look out in supermarkets, check their operations. Go to schools, check their operations from handling stock, then admissions, universities, check out colleges, then submitting results, reporting. So all those are things you can look out for. Microfinance institutions, NGOs, then individuals. Meet an individual. Perhaps an individual needs a website. So meet individuals and try to interact with them. What are they up to? So you can do an undercover investigation. If you don't want to go on ground, you can do an undercover investigation and gain insight on their operations. So, or go on ground like I mentioned. Now, for example, we are not just talking theory here. My intention is always to solve problems. I don't teach theory. So even though theory is what builds us to be what we are, but I like building on real matters. So for example, a company X uses a notebook to record their employee arrival and departure times, plus even taking their names. And unfortunately, some days the book gets lost, the notebook gets lost, or even it is spilled, water spills on it, or some other, maybe a juice. So, as a computer scientist, go sit down and create an app to help solve that. So you'll keep refining it. Always create a sketch. You'll always be refining it on the go. So a school X struggles to enroll students who are far away from school. How can you help? Go sit down, create a web application. You can even start as low as creating a Google form where students submit their names and their personal details, and then their school enrolls them, they pay, something like that. Just think about how to solve a problem. Do you notice a company with no website, or it has no brand? Please find out where to fix, find a problem to fix. So design for them a website. Now, if a client fails to take your product, don't be frustrated and say this is now the start and the end. Use those projects you have developed on your portfolio to showcase in case you're asked for experience. Now you have something to show. So you can also go ahead to visit freelancing sites like freelancer.com. You can visit Upwork, then other freelancing sites. Get projects which clients have posted for support. So find that project. Imagine you're really doing it. So sit down, do it like you're doing it for a client. So after that, put that on your portfolio. So with AI in play, think about how a company Y can get its clients effortlessly. How can it email its clients without always somebody sitting on the PC to say, I have to send messages to the clients. So create a web portal for institutions. Host the portal, manage the portal for the institution. You will be employing yourself. So volunteer for IT support or in other roles. So when you volunteer, it is not a must that you will have to volunteer, but if you realize there is no room you're getting into the industry, you can find volunteering roles. That is where you learn more in case you just feel your knowledge is not sufficient enough. So finally, go out on social media, showcase the projects you've accomplished. So that is how people recognize that so and so actually exists, and this is what he has done. So in this project, I'll try as much as possible to integrate all whatever I've mentioned. So go ahead, finish up here, then we shall meet again. Alright, welcome back. Now we are opening the Excel VBA project, and this is just a continuation of the project that we are working on. So we are still continuing this project, and we are now on VBA, and I'm still your instructor in this course. So down on VBA we have guiding learning outcomes, which we intend to achieve by the end of this module. So by the end, you should be able to declare and use VBA variables and use the dim keyword to declare variables. So you should also be able to develop VBA procedures and functions within a module. Should also be able to design and implement VBA user forms. Should also be able to format Excel worksheets programmatically, or just the way, in any way possible. Apply Excel formulas and built-in functions through VBA. So even though we may not touch here, but at least I may try. Should also be able to access and modify worksheet data using cells objects. Then you should also be able to protect and unprotect worksheets. So what do we start with? We are going to start by checking the project. The project is not very robust, but it can help us achieve the task. We have 3 sheets here, the maize, beans, and millet. And when we come to developer, come to Visual Basic, we can see the code here. We can see the user forms just like this. So this is exactly what we are going to do. How does it work? We come and click on this button, this one here, compute profit. So it will come and ask us to enter the cost price, enter the selling price using a form here, then enter the quantity sold, then click save. So it will say your record has been captured successfully, and it will be populated here. So it is populated here. The total cost price is calculated, total selling price is calculated, the profit is calculated, and the percentage profit. Then we also added the column for the date, actually the date of today. I don't know whether we used it well, but it is the date of today. So that is how we can use this program, and it is the same for these other sheets. So which means if you develop for this sheet, you just manipulate for these other 2 sheets. So we shall start with this one, and straight away we shall see how everything has been built. So unfortunately you cannot enter data within this cell. That's why I added for the user a form to use. So we still have questions we shall ask, but that is something we shall be doing while we are proceeding. So go ahead, finish up here, then find me the next lecture, and we proceed. Alright, welcome back. Now here we are going to look at how to open the VBA editor, and we shall be guided by these learning outcomes. By the end, you should be able to open an Excel workbook and save it. You should also be able to create Excel worksheets. You should also be able to format those worksheets. So we shall go and open Excel. Just hit, in case you're on Linux, maybe if LibreOffice would allow, you would use LibreOffice, but it doesn't allow macros, doesn't support macros. So come and search for Excel. I'm using Excel 2016. If you're using any version of Excel, it is fine. So come and save. So saving it, I'll save it on the desktop. I'll go to desktop, and I'll create a folder, and I'll call it my project. So my workbook, I'll name it calculator project. So I'll click save. So this is how you can save a workbook. So the mistake which most people usually make is going to save as. So whenever you're going to save as, it means you're going to change your location, or you're going to change the file name. So always, if you're saving the file for the first time, just come and click on save. then go and browse where you wish to save and save your file. So in this lecture, we are going to extend the ideas beyond just opening the workbook like this. So we are going to go ahead and also find out what we are going to use. We are going to use VBA to automate this project, and VBA stands for Visual Basic for Applications. This one helps us to automate Microsoft Office products beyond formulas. You can automate PowerPoint presentation, you can automate Microsoft Word. Here we are working with Excel, so we shall use the VBA to advance everything. So we have finished saving. Let us now go ahead and find out how we can open the Microsoft VBA editor. So the VBA editor, you'll have to access the developer tab, but this developer tab doesn't be on automatically. Come and right click in the ribbon here, and then click on customize ribbon. And then here you'll see developer. If it is not checked, it will not appear here, but if it is checked like this, it will appear here. So make sure the developer tab is checked. Right click in the ribbon here, then customize the ribbon, then turn the developer tab on. So come and click developer, then in the top left corner click on Visual Basic, or use the shortcut Alt-T. So here is where you can interact with the whole system, that is the Visual Basic editor. So the Visual Basic editor is simply an area where you'll automate Excel work. So most of the automation is done using what we call macros, but the macros are related to Visual Basic programming language. So here we are going to look at how shall we design the entry of data. We shall not first of all format the workbooks, sorry, the worksheets as this learning outcome has indicated. We shall first skip that, even adding the worksheets. We shall not first add the worksheets. So the first thing we shall add here, we shall go and open and create user forms. We shall come here and create user forms. How do you create user forms? Now user forms are the ones you saw, which helps us to enter the data. So if you're here, you can switch back to Excel and switch back to Visual Basic editor. So come and click on this icon. Here we have several menus here. We shall not look at all of them. Come to this icon, the insert user form, then click on user form. So we have a form here. So this form, we have its properties. When it is selected like this, there's the properties for user form 1 here. So come and adjust its height. Look for height, make it 318 or 320. Surely that is too big, make it 300. Anyway, make it 290. It is still big, make it 240, 220. So come and look for the width, 220, and the widths come down here, you'll find W. The widths make it also 280, just like that. So the user form has a name, so you can change this name. For now I'll leave this name. I'll only come and change this caption here. This caption I'll change it to maze form, just like this. So after creating this form, we need to add what we call, should I call it elements? If you're working with graphical user interface applications, we call them widgets or widgets. So these widgets help us to interact with the program, helps the user to interact with the program. So I'm going to add some elements, and the first element will be a label. So if this box is not available, come to edit, actually select this form, come to view, and then toolbar, I think toolbox is here. Come to view, then toolbox. If it is on, come to view, then click on toolbox, and you can drag and put it somewhere. I don't know, let it sit somewhere here. So I'll drag the label, just drag and put it here, expand it. So immediately put the label, it brings up the properties of the label. It is named label 1. Its name is label 1 if you look at here. So I'll change its label, its caption. I'll change its caption to have to say maize stock. Just call it maize stock. Maize stock. Just like this. So after creating it, it looks very tiny. Come to font, then increase its font. I'll put it to 16, just like that. Drag it upwards. So what are we designing? We want to design the form which the users will use to enter the data. Shall we put the cost price, selling price, quantity, then you put a button for submit or save. So come and put another label here. Drag a label, put it here. So this label, we shall give it a caption of cost price. Cost price. What have I written? Cost price. So I'll come and give it some font size 12, bolded. Just like this. I'll align it somewhere there. So I'll add a text box just adjacent to it. Come for a text box. Drag and put it here also. You can make it as long as you wish. So this is a text box. I'll select these two, copy and paste. So copy and paste again is not a problem. You're free to use it. So change this, select this label, come to the properties. In case the properties is not seen, just come and hit F4 on your keyboard on the functional keys. The properties will come. If it has not come that way, then come to view. I think you must see the properties window. So come and change this to selling price. Selling price. Selling price, just like that. Press enter, it will show up here. It is saying the box is too small. Just increase it slightly like that. So you'll paste again. Paste again. This will be quantity sold. Shall put quantity sold. Come and edit it from here. Let me just call it quantity. Just like that. So I'll put here a save button. Come to command button. Come and draw it somewhere here. You can drag or just click on it and draw it here. Come and change, don't change the name. Come and change the caption. I'll call it save. So this save, I'll also come to font and I'll bold it and make it 14. Position it somewhere here. So this is for maize. We shall also create a form for beans, then millet, and lastly, actually those two. So I'll close this out. I'll create another form. Come over here, create form. This is another form. Come over here, select this one, hold Ctrl and select all these ones like this. Copy. Come to this form. Remember this form, we should also make it with some properties. Come to view. So we said we make this to, we make this width is how much. Let me come back to this one. The width was 280, height was 220. So come back and also define this. The width height is 220, just for uniformity. The width is 280. So remember, I said I'll come here and I select these elements like this, even this one, then copy. After copying, paste them here. So instead of maize, come and change this to beans. Change this to beans stock. Okay, let them be capitals throughout. Beans stock. What else should we change? I think nothing else. Let us create another form. So why are we creating the form? To help the user interact with the program. This one is 220. Come down. This is 280. Just like this. So it is still in memory. Just paste. Come and change this to millet. Change this to millet. Just like that. So by so doing, we have 3 forms. Now these forms will help us to enter data into these worksheets. So go ahead, create your forms. The way I've created mine, it was a marathon, but I've created the forms here: form 1, form 2, user form 1, user form 2, and user form 3. So go ahead, finish up your forms, then come back and proceed. Alright, welcome back. Now let us proceed to lecture 2. In lecture 2, we shall be guided by these instructions and these learning outcomes. Should be able to open Microsoft VBA by the end. Should also be able to design and implement VBA UserForms. We have already crossed there. So we have crossed there because we are now going to handle, should I say, we shall handle how to design, like we have outlined it here, because we have not designed, but this one we have already catered for it. Like I said, formatting the worksheets is something we are also going to do ahead of where we are going. So we are going to perform those tasks, but here the question is, which were supposed to lead us here. What information must we gather on each product? So some of the information is the cost price, selling price, and the quantity sold. And then which values are inputs. I think you can go through these questions and find out how best you can, which questions are you not settling, because it is helping us to answer questions about this project. So first, we shall come back to Excel and we design these worksheets. The first worksheet, I'll call it, let me call it maize stock. Maize stock. This one, I'll call it, so now to add the worksheet, just click on this plus. Now this one, I'll call it beans stock. And I'll create another one, I'll call it millet stock. Millet stock, like this. So we shall have to format it in such a way that we have a column for, we shall have a column for ID, column for cost price, column for selling price, a column for total cost price, and a column for total selling price, column for profit, then a column for percentage profit, then a column for debt. So what shall we do? We can auto increment these columns just like this, double clicking to auto fit the widths, the column widths, just like this. So we shall format a couple of cells here, but before we format, if I scroll down, my headers are hiding. I'll first of all bold these headers like this. when I go down, my headers are hiding. So what will I do? What I will do is wait a little. I didn't explain something here. While saving, let me close this. While saving, this is we are going to write VBA. So while saving, come and change. Shall go back to the desktop. I think it is on the desktop. So while saving, you're supposed to choose Excel macro enabled workbook. So that is the extension, not this one here. Excel workbook. It is Excel macro enabled workbook. So it is in the my folder on the desktop. I think I should rename this to my folder, my project. Sorry. Oh, it is saying it can't be edited because there's something open in it. So I'll save it as, change the file extension just like that. So I'll come back here. When I scroll down, that's what I was saying. When I scroll down, my headers disappear. So for me to fix them there, I'll select row 2, then come to view, then freeze pens. So say that when I scroll down or up, these pens remain in position. So actually this top row remains in position. So we shall format over 10,000 rows. So scroll down to over 10,000. Actually, let me go to H10,000. Control G to go to H10,000. So this is H10,000. While it is selected like this, scroll up, scroll to the left, hold the shift, select this other area. It helps us to format the whole of this area like this. So that is how you can select the whole of that area. So we can put a dark border here, just like that. So what else do we need? We shall turn this into a table. For some reason, then we shall turn it back into a range. So select the whole of this. I think it has selected the whole sheet. Control G to go to H1000, 10,000. So we are down here. So come and select up to the top, just like this. Then Control T. It will say you want to turn a fixed range from A1 through H10,000 into a table. Yes, and check here because the table has headers. Then click OK. So turn it into a table like that, because we shall see why we need it into a table. So after that, we shall now proceed to the last section now, which is I think after formatting this, because I'll copy this and paste to duplicate and make these ones here. So this one will help us to make the rest. So go ahead to make one of these, and then pause there, and then come back and proceed in the next one. Alright, welcome back. Let us go to lecture 3. Lecture 3 shall be guided by these learning outcomes. Should be able to develop a procedure in VBA within a module. Should also be able to declare and use VBA variables using the DIM statement. Should be able to work with VBA message box. Should also be able to work with the workbook, worksheet, range and ranges object and cells object. Should also be able to access and modify worksheet data using cells object. So we are now going to VBA, and we are going to introduce some concepts. Which concepts we shall go and apply them. So come to developer and come to Visual Basic. So here, come to this icon, the insert user form icon, then insert a module. So what is a module? It is the area where we organize our macros to run. So apart from the module, we have worksheets. You can write your worksheets with your macros within a worksheet here. However, these ones are made to trigger activities or events on a worksheet. When you write it in a module, it is general. So I'll start as usual how to write comments. To write a comment in VBA, use one quote like that. So say for example you want to say this is a comment. Use one quote like that. So the first thing is we are going to look at how do you declare variables. Before you declare a variable, how do you create a sub procedure? So to create a sub procedure, use the keyword sub followed by the procedure name, space, then the procedure name. I'll call this procedure 1, just the name of your choice, procedure 1. Like the way you may be familiar with creating variables, the procedure, its name should not start with a number. Excel will reject it. Its name should not start with a symbol. Okay, you cannot say I want it to start with a %. However, some of those symbols, like an underscore, you can use it within the name, and the name should not have a space. So make sure your name is descriptive and always one word. So this is how you create a procedure. So we shall look at how do you declare variables. To declare a variable, we use the DIM, which stands for, shall use a comment, DIM stands for declared in memory. So we use it to declare variables. So to declare a variable, you write and say DIM followed by the variable name. I'll call this maybe my name as the variable name, and then followed by the as keyword, then followed by the return type. So my name is a string, so I'll return it as a string. So that is how you declare a variable. Now after declaring a variable, you can assign this variable name a value. You can say my name is equals to, and you can assign it a value like that. So you can go ahead and print this value. You can display it in a message box. Message box, you write MSG box, that is message box, then open quotes and say your name is, then use the ampersand to concatenate this string to this name. So just copy this name and paste it here. So you have simply concatenated this name to this string in the message box. So if you run this, you say your name is Emmanuel. So that is how you assign a variable. You can also assign a variable my age is equals to, my age is 28. So you can also display the age by adding an ampersand, then say my age. So if you run this, if you come and run this, it will say your name is that and it is 28 as the age. So that is how you work with variables, and that is how you can work with a message box. So a message box, you simply can write just a prompt, or you can pass a variable. So if you don't want to pass this prompt there, I'll just remove this. So I only have variables. Just write message box, then the variable name. When you run it, it will display the variable Emmanuel and 28. So let us look at how do we place values in cells. So we have what we call the workbook, worksheet, the range, and the cells objects. So the first is the workbook. When you refer to the workbook, you're referring to this workbook here. So to refer to a workbook, we say this workbook. So to again add the sheet in that hierarchy, we say sheets, sheets open bracket or parentheses. Then within the parentheses you pass the sheet name. So the sheet name is maize underscore stock. It should be in quotes and in bracket or in parentheses. So after the sheet, the next is now the range or the cell where I want to put the value. This is a range, you can call it a range or a cell. So I'll go and say dot range. Which range do I want? I want to put the value Emmanuel in cell K1. So I'll come and say in quotes K1 open quotes, close quotes and close bracket, dot value is equals to my name. Actually I should follow the case. So we are saying this workbook, I think have I written it well? This workbook dot sheets, or you can say active workbook. Active sheet. So this workbook dot sheets maize stock dot range K1 is equals to my name. So if you run this is the play button. You realize the name comes here. So that is how you put values in a cell. And then lastly, how do you use the cells object? So instead of using let me remove this. Instead of using dot range, I can use dot cells. So when you use dot cells, what happens? You define the row index. When you look at this cell, let me go for this cell. This cell is in column 1, row 2. So when you come to cells object here, you define the row index followed by the column index. So in this case, I want to put my value in column 1 and row 2. So row 2, column 1, dot value is equals to my name. So if you run this and you come to this cell, you'll find there my name. So that is how we use this area. So all these concepts, we have combined them. We are going to use them in the future. So once again, we said you can use this workbook referring to this workbook which we created. Dot sheets, you refer to a specific sheet. And then the sheet name, you put it in quotes like this. Then followed by the object which you want to return or place the values in. Then dot value, and then assign it to the variable. You can assign it to the age and any other variable. So go ahead, finish up here. Then we shall come back and also look at how to use the if statement in VBA. Alright, welcome back. Now in lecture 4, we are going to be driven by some of these objectives or learning outcomes. Should be able to use the logical if statement in VBA. Then also how to find the last used row. Should we also be able to find the last used row in a given column in a worksheet. Let us go straight away and we kick off. I'll clear this and we shall start here. So the first thing was how do we use the if statement. So let us say I have a value. Let us say I have a value in K2 and the value is 34. So I'll say what should I want to make this as easy as possible. Let me declare a variable R and G as range. So you can also store a range as range. So we shall set R and G to be equals to this workbook dot sheets, which sheets is that? The maize stock dot which range do I want to specify? I want to specify range K2 dot K dot range open quotes K2. So what am I referring to? I'm assigning this variable such that it stores this range K2. So I'm going to come and say if RNG, that range, is less than or equals to, let me start with the highest, greater than or equals to 30, then, so after writing if, actually let me indent this inside, after writing if, we follow it by the word then come to the new line and say then we shall now say shall display message box, and we say the value is big, like this. So if you want to use multiple statements, you can say else message box, the value is small. So if you run this to display the message, actually we started if, we didn't close if. Now it brings an error like that. Always come and click on this reset button. So come and close if. To close if, we end it with the word end if. So come and run this. So the value is big because we said if it gets when the value is greater than or equals to 30, and the value is greater than 30 because it is 34. So we said RNG because RNG is the whole of this. So it brings this, the whole of this, and puts here, but we have assigned it to a variable. So that is how you can use it. But you can decide to copy the whole of this and put it here. But for ease and readability, we usually set a given variable to a given range, then we can use that range. So this is how you can use the if. If you want to use multiple if statements, let us try multiple if statements. So else if, I hope I'll get it right, RNG is greater than or equals to 20, then I think I better check here. Well, I think it is else if. Hope it is else if, like that. So I'll display message box and I say the value, display message box, and I say the value is average. So I'll come here and I say else, that is a default condition. In case nothing is seen, shall say message box, the value is small, just like this. Then end if. So what happens here? We have used one if statement. If you want it to be like two if statements, we shall have to say else, then if. We shall write it like this. I hope it will work. This we now need two if statements. Let us first reset. We now need two if statements. Then run this. This is okay. But if you write it the word written like this, like the word written like this, you don't need two ending if statements here. If you run, it is okay. But if this one jumps to the next line, this one here jumps to the next line, else, then if, you need two if statements. So sorry, two end if statements to end this first if and to end this second if. So that is how to use the if statement. So let us go ahead and look at the last part. of how do you find a last used row in this range. So to find the last used row, we shall say this workbook dot sheets. Actually, you can say dot active sheet, such that you'll be meaning this active sheet. This is the current active sheet. So you can say this workbook dot active sheet, then dot we shall now define dot range. Which range will I define? I will define the range A. Remember, I gave 10,000. I formatted 10,000. So I'll give range 9,000. I think 900. I gave 10,000, which means 9,900 is okay. So 9,000. So what am I doing? I'm going down a large range dot end Excel up dot row. So first I'll declare a variable. I'll declare a variable dimension last row as should I call it range, as because I want to select that row. Let me see. First, wait, I want to, actually I can also do this. This workbook dot active sheet dot range, this range dot end Excel up dot row dot select. Let me try to select the last used row. If I try to run this, I think this one won't work. I think I may need to assign it to a variable such that I can find it well. Let me see, because I want to find an example. I want to find the last used row. So I use this variable like this. Let me assign this to a variable like I've done before. I created a variable here as let me call it as range. So I'll set the last row to be equals to this area here. So I'll go back and say last row dot select. Let me see if it will work. It still doesn't work. Let me see if I try to find the last row plus 1. I think still doesn't work. I think we shall see it in practice while we are now doing the calculation, because I wanted to apply it somewhere so that we shall see it before we land there. So we shall see it immediately when we are working on the project, the area where we shall apply it. So go ahead and finish up here, then come back and proceed. Alright, welcome back. Now let us go ahead to combine all the ideas that is in lecture 5 to now build our project, mostly on the side of the VBA. So I believe by the end of this lecture, you should be able to apply the use of variables, logical if statement, and other ideas to build a project. Then you should also be able to create trigger buttons using shapes in the worksheets. So come to your user forms, open them by double clicking. Just open the first one. So when you open the first one, come to your button and double click this button. Double click this button. So it will open the private sub command button 1 when clicked. So this procedure only works when the button is clicked. So we are going to come inside here and we define some 2 variables here. I'll be a little bit fast. Shall define 2 variables, I row, as I define them as long. I will define I serial as long. Long is also a data type. I'll make sure I indent this inwards so that it looks smarter. So I'll come and assign the I row, the last used cell, like I had mentioned earlier. I'll assign it the last used cell, workbook.sheets. This workbook.sheets, I'll start with the first sheet. The first sheet is maize space stock.range. I'll go to a very large range like this, 9,000 dot end Excel up dot row plus 1. So what do? We want to find the last used row. So the last empty row is the one I want to find. So if this one is the last used, then this one is the last empty one. That's why I add plus 1. So if it is end Excel up, I'll come upwards, up to the last used one, then I find the last empty one, the first empty one. That's why I find the last used one, then I add 1 to find the last empty one. Just add 1. That's the reason why we add 1. So I'm going to come here and I use the if statement. Use if statement. I think this case is very small. Let me increase the case, come down to format, not even format, come to tools, and then come to options, come to editor format. The size, increase it to, instead of 10, let me increase it to 18. I think that size is reasonable. So come here and use the if statement. I'm going to use the if statement and say I want to find this cell. So this one is helping me to find the last used cell. So I'm also going to come and say if I row, I'm going to guess the one which is used, the one which is empty. If the I row, the empty one, is equals to 2, and then we shall assign the I serial. We shall say I serial should be equals to 1. What do I want to do? I want to populate the indices here automatically. That's the macro that I'm writing. Else let us say I serial is equals to this workbook dot sheets. The sheet is maize stock dot range. Actually, I'll use cells. So how will I determine the row index? Remember, I want to populate this. The row index, I'll get the I row minus 1. Then the column index, I'll take 1. And then dot value plus 1. The result, I'll add 1. I'll end if. So I'll come down here and I define some variables. I'll define a variable text box 1, text value 1. Text value 1 is equals to. Now these variables, why am I defining them? When you come to this user form and you select this text box and hit F4, you realize this text box is text box 4. When you come to this text box is text box 4 with its name. So this is 4, this is 2, this is 3. Let us see the rest. This one is 4, 2, 3. I don't know where 1 has gone. This is 4, 2, 4, 2, 3. I think that is the pattern. 4, 2, 3. So when you come to the first one, is where we are. So I'm going to assign this variable to text box 4. To text box 4 dot text. Then I'll also create another variable, text box 2. This variable to store text box 2, results from text box 2. Text box 2. I'll also create another variable 3, text value 3, here from text box 3. So here is where I'm going now to put my values get my values from the user form, and I take them to the Excel sheet. So I'm going to say with sheets made stock, stock like this. So let's go back to small lowercase made stock. With sheets made stock, come here and end with. So here I'm simply giving away such that I don't write a lot of stuff. So when we come to writing with sheets, it means I don't want to always write sheets. So I'll come and say dot cells. Instead of saying sheets made stock dot cells, I just come and say dot cells. Dot cells, the first column here, I want it to take I values from I serial. The first column, that is the row index, will be taken up by I row, and then the column index will be column 1. And the values which will go there, I want the I values of I serial to go there. And then I'll also proceed, actually I'll just copy this, only this. I'll also proceed in column 2. Remember, this is the row, the column index, so it has taken up column 1. So in column 2, I want column 2 to have values of cost price. And remember, this text box 1 is carrying the cost price. So text box 1 is carrying the cost price, and I've assigned it to this variable, just like this. So I'll copy this. I go ahead for text box for column 3, text box 2. Go ahead for column 4 for text box 3, just like this. So when I enter the values and I click save, the values in text box 1 should go inside those cells. So let me go and run this form. You have this form like this, you can run it. When you run it, it will open here. So the cost price, I think I should edit something here. The cost price, I'll enter, wait. Looks like I have more than one text box here. Okay, I'll remove this. This one is text box 4, this is 1. I've not referred 1, let me remove 1. And I think it is good if they are well organized like this. So it makes more sense. I hope it has not pasted even here. I think this one is okay. So I'll come back and run this form, the made stock form. The cost price, I'll enter some value like this. So I'll enter some value like this. Quantity, I'll enter some quantity. So when I click save, the values come to these areas here. So if I run it again and I put some values, 500, 5000, then 55, then the quantity 5, the values come here. So the I serial we defined helps us to increment the values in column 1. So that is how we will do it. So now we need a button that will now trigger. We don't need to always come inside here and then we run the form. We need a button here that we shall be triggering. So we shall need a button, and that button we shall add a button from shapes. Let me pause a little, I take some little water. Okay, we shall add a button from shapes. So come to shapes, then insert a rectangle. We shall insert it here, and we shall call this button. We shall put some text. Can just come for something like this. Put some text and say compute data, just like that, and just create a button like that, put it somewhere there. So what are we going to do with this button? Shall come back to Visual Basic. So we need to trigger this form to be seen. So come to your module here and create a sub procedure, sub call forms. I'll name it call forms. So when you open and close parentheses, it will show up there like that. Actually, call form 1. Call form 1. So come and say user form 1 using this name here. Okay, you can just come and copy this name and use it here. User form 1 dot show. So when you come back to, you can add a comment up here so that it is descriptive. When you come back to your sheet, just come and right click, assign macros, then choose call form 1. So when you click on this this compute button, it calls this form. So I think I wanted to also make some change on this maze form where there was an extra button here, sorry, an extra label. I'll also remove one, just delete it like that. So I would beg we end here for this lecture, then go ahead and practice all this. Then in case you don't get it well, keep rewinding the video. Let us proceed in the next lecture. Alright, welcome back. Let us proceed to lecture 6. Lecture 6 we shall be guided by this learning outcome. Implement techniques to ensure a program runs smoothly. Then also we have a question, how could this program be extended to support other products? Remember, we have only mentioned 3. How could it be extended to support other products? Now, let us now go and work on this code so that it runs smoothly. Now, whenever we run this code, we want this workbook, this worksheet to be protected, such that somebody cannot just come and enter a value here and erase the data which was there. So how do we do that? We come at the end, at the start of this line, and we say active sheet dot unprotect. We start by unprotecting the sheet up here, unprotect. Then we come down here. As the program closes, we close this, or we protect this. We say active sheet dot protect. So that is how we would also manage that. So as well, we can now transfer this code to other sheets, to other forms. Just copy this, come to user form 2, double click this and paste it inside here. And then that it is no longer the maize stock, it is the beans stock. So I will have to find and replace. Whenever there is maize stock, I'll replace it with beans stock, then replace all, just like that. I hope there will be nothing which will remain. So you can copy this very code and paste it inside here, and also say whenever there is maize stock, replace it with the millet stock, then click replace all, just like that. So this is now, it will also work for the rest. So we need now to duplicate this worksheet such that we have the same workbook, the same worksheets which have the same details for this one and this one. So what will I do? I'm not going to format it again. I'm going to delete it. The good thing, I know their names. I'm going to delete them. I'm going to delete them. So I'll copy and paste this. Copy, move and copy. Select this very worksheet. Create a copy. So this new copy, I'll pull it over this way. I'll name it. Remember, we know we have the names which are already standardized, the ones we are using. This is the beans stock. I'll copy this, copy the beans and create a copy, and call this the millet stock. So I'll also pull this way. So these buttons, I'll have to come back to my module 1 and I just copy this and I write the one for beans. I'll call this form 2 and it will call form 2. I'll create another one, form 3, and it will call form 3. So when you come back here, the one of beans, right click, assign macros. I will assign it to form 2, and then I'll come and also right click on this, assign macros. I'll assign it to macro, call form 3. So when you click this, it will call the one for millet, and if you enter some data like this, then some numbers, you click save, the data is saved automatically there. So when it is saved, the user form doesn't go away. You have to just cancel it. So we want to try, let us try for beans also. We can enter some products like this. So it also works very well. So when it is wanted to do something. When it is when it has finished, you have to just cancel it away. Let us remove it automatically. We shall come at the end here. Shall create a comment and we say unload form. So we shall come here and say unload me. The unload me, remember I'm writing this in the form. So unload me, I'm simply telling the form, please quit. That's what I'm simply telling the form. So I'll also come and put it at the end of this one, and at the end of form 2 also. So when you come and run this, shall come and run for maize, shall put some prices, shall put some prices like this. So the record will be added. Come to beans, shall also add some data like this. So likewise, it will also be computed. So we now have a task to compute the rest. That is the total selling price. Hope I wrote price well. Now the form has been locked. So for you to unlock this as you want to edit, just come to review, then unprotect. So I'll come and change this. This was not price. Let me write it better. Just like that. So that is how we shall have our data being planted within. So we shall go ahead and now compute the total selling price, profit, percentage profit, and the debt. So go ahead and finish up here. Come back and we finish this project with the last lecture, lecture 7, where we are going to compute those 3 sections. Alright, welcome back. Now let us proceed with computing these calculations, total selling price. Now I'll now explain the reason why I said we should turn this into a table. Now when we are computing when we are making calculations here, it is very easy when it is a table. So how do we get the total? Don't you think we have missed something here? Wait a minute. This was supposed to be the cost price, selling price, and the quantity. That's all. This should be quantity. Then we shall have another column for total selling price. So which means you're going to, these ones will have now to start extending to the next side. This will be quantity sold. Hey, how could that happen? This will be quantity sold, then it will be total cost price, total cost price, just like that. So I think we can do the same for quantity sold. Okay, I can copy these headings, and I come to these other sheets. I'll just add another. When I've copied, it doesn't want to accept. Let me insert another column. This one is protected. Unprotect. Come to review and unprotect. So I'll copy these headings. Actually, quantity. I'll copy these headings. I'll come and add another column. Look at this one. So I'll have to add another column, then I'll paste them at once. I'll come and add another column here also as well. So I'll come and copy these two, the ones which were disturbing, and I'll paste them over here. I think it is total. It starts from here, just like this. Likewise to this. So this is how we shall have our table. So let us start with the total cost price. Here we shall write formulas. In case you're not familiar with formulas, I may not explain everything from scratch, but I will try. So when it is a table like this, writing formulas is as easy as counting ABC. So what are we going to do? We are going to get total cost price. We say the total cost price, we get the selling price. So write equals, come over here. You've seen this dark arrow pointing downwards. Select it. It will select the whole column. So to get the total cost price, we get the cost price times, put the asterisk, the quantity sold. Then press enter. It is as easy as that. This time around, don't have to write any ranges. So come and say equals. This is the same as the selling price. Put the asterisk times the quantity sold. So the profit say equals the total selling price minus the total cost price. Just click over there and select the entire column and press enter. So you'll have your profit. Then the percentage, you'll have to open brackets here, select the profit out of the total cost price, close bracket, then times 100. just like that. So you can select the whole of this column, and then you can reduce. Remember, this one may come in decimals. Come and reduce the number of decimals to 0. Actually, it is better, something like that. So that is how you do quickly manage and work with formulas. Now if you don't want this value error, you can come and now write a formula now and say if error put nothing. And now if you write it like that, just from the first cell, you'll see the magic. It will happen across all. So that is the beauty of a table. So the date when the transaction has happened. So the date we shall use equals now, the now function. So if you say equals now, it will also paste throughout the whole column. So I'll change the format. I don't want that format. So if you want to select the whole column, you don't need to drag. You just click on top here like this. So come to home, come to this smaller launch button, then click on date. I'll use a shorter format like this. So it has pasted the date everywhere. So we shall put a condition, and we say if if this area is empty, if the ID is equals to nothing, comma, put nothing, else put the date. So when the ID is empty, let it also put nothing. So by so doing, we shall have all this area very clean like that. Likewise, you can do the same for this, because the ID should be filled such that something is visible there. Shall say if the ID is equals to nothing, comma, put nothing, else put the result like that. So this one helps the program to be very smart. Shall say if the ID is equals to nothing, comma, put nothing, else put the result of the calculation. Likewise to this, shall say if the ID is equals to nothing, comma, put nothing, else put the result of the calculation. So what are we saying here? We are saying if the ID column is equals to nothing, because it usually checks per cell, then put nothing, else put the result of the calculation. As simple as that. So when you try to get another calculation in, let us say we are now getting another calculation in, and you click save, everything is computed. So by so doing, we can help the users to have something very smart like this. So let me pause the video. I do it for the rest of these, because I was doing it for maize. I do it for the rest of these other products. Then I come back and we proceed. Okay, welcome back. Now here we have everything now up and running like this. So we now have everything. We can now do other things like can remove these filter buttons. Just come to design, then come to remove filter buttons. Just like this. Just like this. I think this one is protected. Come and unprotect it. Then come to design, remove the filter buttons. So you have a clean table like that. And then you can also come and remove the headings, remove the formula bar, remove the grid lines. And then you can also come and hide these buttons, but we cannot hide them because we shall have to use them. Then you shall have to also hide these other grid lines and the buttons. So this brings us to the end of this section. This section was a little bit short, but it was also very crucial. So in case you have entered the data, you can now go ahead and create charts for this data, because now Excel is very easy for you now to work with charts and visualize the data. So go ahead and finish up here, then come back and we cruise through the most crucial section where we are going to create a graphical user interface application using PySide 6, and we shall create an executable file for installation. So go ahead, finish up here, and we'll meet in the next section. Alright, now after developing the whole project, the process is not done. There's a lot of learning through. Now there are some of the recommendations I've outlined here. Now these recommendations, while in the field, you'll get more recommendations. I'm still a manual doodle and I'm instructor in this area still. So some of the recommendations after building the project, remember we have built the graphical user interface, we have built a website which can compute calculations, we have built something in Excel. So there's something we should look out for: input validation and sanitization. This is one of the further recommendations. So make sure all user inputs are validated and sanitized to prevent injection or invalid data processing. So for example, validate numerical inputs to ensure they are within expected ranges. Then file limit access, avoid writing CSV files like the way we did. So to unrestricted locations, use a dedicated directory with restricted permissions. So an example, store CSV files to secure subdirectories. So also error handling, ensure all exemptions are properly caught. So other recommendations include also avoid hard coding sensitive data. So if your application requires sensitive data such as API keys, database credentials, avoid hard coding them. Then restrict external libraries. Ensure you only use trusted libraries also. Ensure file permissions are secure. Set appropriate file permissions for CSV files such that there is no unauthorized access. Then also use virtual environments. So run your Python in a Python virtual environment to isolate dependencies and reduce risk of dependency related vulnerabilities. So update dependencies. There are some dependencies which have been duplicated, something like that, whereby the developers are no longer maintaining them. So always update and download new ones. So secure the graphical user interface by limiting the functionality of graphical user interface to only what is necessary. An example, disable drag and drop features or clipboard access if not needed. So in case there is no need for copying and pasting, so you can disable the clipboard. So logging and monitoring, implement logging to monitor user actions and detect suspicious behavior. So use Python's logging module to log events. So if you're in a website, also check out what can best support you in that. So prevent code injection, that is point 11. Avoid using the evil function. That one is used mostly if you're doing calculations. So in graphical user interface applications. So avoid using them as they can execute arbitrary code and pose a security risk. The beautiful thing is there are other alternatives to them. Secure dependencies. Use tools like pip audit to check for known vulnerabilities in your dependencies. So by implementing these measures, you can significantly improve the security of your application and reduce the risk of malicious activities. So in case you're excited to learn with me again, go ahead, finish up here and let us meet again.